The text message on my phone was begging. Literally begging. Chisholm, please. I'm on my knees. Just one meeting. I'll explain everything. This woman. This same woman who had smiled in my face 6 months ago while stabbing me in the back. Now she wanted to explain. Let me take you back to where this whole thing started, because you need to understand how sweet this moment really was. My name is Chisholm Okafor, and 8 months ago, I was living my dream. 27 years old, working as a senior marketing associate at Pinnacle Communications, one of the biggest advertising agencies in Lagos. Our office was in Lekki Phase 1, the type of place where everyone drove nice cars and talked about their side hustles over overpriced lunch at bungalow. I had been working on something big. Something that was going to change my life. For 6 months, I'd been developing a marketing platform concept specifically for Nigerian small businesses. It wasn't just another social media tool, it was a complete ecosystem that understood how Nigerian businesses actually worked. From dealing with NIPO taking light to managing customers who wanted to pay in installments to navigating the chaos of Lagos logistics. I called it NaijaConnect, and it was brilliant. I'm not bragging, it just was. My boss, Mrs. Adebola Martins, had been so supportive. She was everything I wanted to be, 42, divorced, financially independent, and respected in the industry. She wore expensive Ankara to client meetings and made it look corporate. She drove a Range Rover Sport. She spoke at conferences. When I first told her about NaijaConnect, she was excited. Chisholm, this is exactly the kind of innovation we need, she said, leaning back in her leather chair. Keep working on it. Document everything. We might be able to pitch this to the board. I was so grateful. So stupidly, blindly grateful. I worked nights and weekends. I mapped out everything, the user interface, the pricing model, the marketing strategy, potential investors. I created detailed presentations. I even built a basic prototype using money from my savings, working with a developer friend who charged me sisterly rates. Mrs. Adebola checked in regularly. How's it coming along, she'd ask. Show me what you have so far. And like a fool, I showed her everything. The day everything crashed, I was wearing my favorite blue dress. The one I saved for important moments. Mrs. Adebola had called me into her office that morning and said, I have good news. The board wants to hear about innovative projects. I recommended you. You'll pitch NaijaConnect next week. I floated out of her office. I called my mother in Enugu. I posted a cryptic message on my WhatsApp status, God's time is the best time folded hand sparkles. But that afternoon, something felt off. I was walking past the conference room when I heard Mrs. Adebola's voice. The door was slightly open, and normally I would have just passed by, but something made me stop. Complete game changer for the Nigerian market, she was saying. I've been developing this for months. It's called Connect Naija. My blood went cold. I pushed the door open. Mrs. Adebola was standing at the head of the conference table, presenting MY slides. My strategy. My interface designs. Everything. The only difference was the name. She changed NaijaConnect to Connect Naija, and her face was on the cover slide instead of mine. The 3 board members turned to look at me. So did Mrs. Adebola. Chisholm, she said smoothly, not even looking flustered. We're in a meeting. That's my project, I said. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. Those are my slides. Mrs. Adebola's expression changed. It went from smooth to cold so fast it gave me whiplash. Chisholm, you're confused. This is a project I've been working on independently. Now please, we are busy. But I showed you everything. Are you calling me a thief? Her voice was sharp now. Dangerous. In front of the board. Do you understand how serious that accusation is? One of the board members, a man with grey hair and an expensive watch, cleared his throat. Perhaps we should continue this later, Adebola. I stood there, shaking. I have proof. I have files, timestamps, everything. Chisholm, leave this room now before I have you escorted out, Mrs. Adebola said. We'll discuss your behavior later. I left. What else could I do? I went to my desk and pulled up my files, my hands trembling so badly I could barely use the mouse. That's when I discovered she'd been even more thorough than I thought. Weeks ago, she had requested access to my laptop for IT maintenance. The files were still there, but the timestamps had been altered. According to the metadata, she had created them before I did. She had planned this. She had planned this from the beginning. The next 2 weeks were hell. Mrs. Adebola's version of NaijaConnect, Connect Naija, was fast-tracked. The board loved it. They approved a massive budget for development and marketing. And Mrs. Adebola. She became the golden girl of Pinnacle Communications. Her face was in industry magazines. She spoke on panels about innovation and women in tech. I was stuck at my desk, doing basic campaign reports, watching her steal my entire future. My colleagues looked at me with pity. Or worse, some looked at me like I was the crazy one. Like I was the jealous junior colleague trying to bring down a successful woman. I beg, just let it go, my friend Gozi whispered to me at lunch. You think you can win against somebody like her? With her connections. Just thank God say she never fire you. But I couldn't let it go. I tried going to HR. They scheduled a meeting, listened politely, and said they would investigate. Nothing happened. Mrs. Adebola had been at Pinnacle for 12 years. I'd been there for 3. Who were they going to believe? I thought about going to social media, exposing her. But I had no real proof, she'd covered her tracks perfectly. I just looked like a bitter employee. Maybe even get sued for defamation. I was trapped. Then something happened that I didn't expect. My uncle called. Now, I need to explain something about my uncle Emeka. He's my father's younger brother, and growing up, we didn't see him much. He worked in business, that's all anyone ever said. He lived in Abuja, drove nice cars when he visited for Christmas, but he was quiet. Private. I hadn't spoken to him in maybe 2 years when he called that Tuesday evening. Chisholm, your mother told me what happened at your job, he said. No greeting, straight to business. Tell me everything. I did. I told him the whole story, and halfway through, I started crying. Real crying, the type where you can't catch your breath properly. When I finished, there was silence on the line. This woman, Adebola Martins, Uncle Emeka said slowly. She works at Pinnacle Communications in Lekki. Yes, sir. And she's trying to develop this platform, Connect Naija. Yes. Another pause. Then, okay. Don't do anything. Don't resign, don't confront her, don't post anything online. Just go to work and be normal. Can you do that? I didn't understand, but I said yes. Good, he said. I'll call you back. He hung up. I sat there confused, but also, I don't know, something felt different. Uncle Emeka's voice had changed when I mentioned Pinnacle Communications. Like he recognized something. 3 days later, Mrs. Adebola called an emergency team meeting. She walked in looking stressed. Her makeup was perfect as always, but there was something in her eyes. Something like fear. There's been a development with the Connect Naija project, she announced. We need additional investment, and I've been in talks with potential partners. She pulled up an email on the projector. Zenith Ventures has expressed interest in partnering with us. They want a meeting next week. My colleague turned whistled. Zenith Ventures. That's huge. They funded TechPoint and Logistics NG. Mrs. Adebola nodded, but she didn't look happy. She looked like someone who'd just been told they had to perform surgery on themselves. After the meeting, I googled Zenith Ventures. It was a major venture capital firm based in Abuja, known for funding successful Nigerian tech startups. They had a reputation for being very thorough with their due diligence. Their founder and CEO was listed as Emeka Okafor. I stared at the screen. At the photo of Uncle Emeka in a suit, standing in front of a modern office building, looking nothing like the quiet uncle I remembered. My uncle was one of the biggest tech investors in Nigeria. And somehow, Mrs. Adebola had no idea we were related. My phone rang. Uncle Emeka. Did you see the news about Zenith? He asked. You're a venture capitalist. He laughed. I told your mother not to tell the family. I don't like attention. But yes. And now I'm very interested in this Connect Naija platform. Very interested. Uncle. Listen carefully, he said. I've looked into your boss. She has ambition but not much else. No technical background, no previous successful projects. This Connect Naija is her first big play, and she's desperate to make it work. She needs my money. What are you going to do? I'm going to offer her a partnership, he said calmly. But I'm going to require something first, a complete audit of the project. Origin of the idea, development timeline, or documentation. Everything. I understood. She can't prove she created it. Exactly. And when that comes out in due diligence, she'll be exposed. Not just to me, but to her own company. She'll be finished. But what if she lies? What if she produces fake evidence? She can try, Uncle Emeka said. But I have something better. I have you. The real creator, with the real timeline and evidence. When I'm done with due diligence, I'll ask to meet the development team. And you're going to walk into that room. My heart was pounding. She'll deny everything. Let her try, Uncle Emeka said. Let her deny it in front of her board, in front of me, in front of the lawyers I bring. Let's see how that works for her. The next week was beautiful torture. Mrs. Adebola was stressed. Really stressed. She snapped at everyone, had closed-door meetings with the board, and I had her on the phone multiple times saying things like, yes, we have complete documentation, and, of course, we can prove provenance. She avoided looking at me directly. Not because she knew about Uncle Emeka, she had no idea, but maybe because somewhere in her guilty conscience, my face reminded her of what she'd done. On Tuesday, she actually asked me to help prepare materials for the Zenith Ventures meeting. The audacity. The absolute audacity. I need you to pull together all the early development documents for Connect Naija, she said. I looked at her. Really looked at her. Which document exactly? The conceptual work, the initial strategy papers. Everything from the beginning. The beginning, I repeated. You mean when the project was first created? Something flickered in her eyes. Yes. When I first created it. I smiled. Just a small smile. Of course, Ma. I'll pull everything together. The meeting with Zenith Ventures was scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. That morning, Mrs. Adebola was wearing her power outfit, a burgundy suit with gold jewelry. War paint. She had her presentation memorized, her confidence back. I dressed carefully too. My best Ankara dress, the one my mother bought me for my university graduation. For luck. At 1:45 p.m., I went to the conference room. Mrs. Adebola was already there with 2 board members. She frowned when she saw me. Chisholm, this meeting is for senior staff only. Actually, said a voice from the doorway, Ms. Okafor is exactly who I wanted to see. Uncle Emeka walked in, followed by 2 people with laptops and briefcases. He was wearing a navy suit, and he looked every inch the powerful investor he was. Mrs. Adebola stood up, smiling. Mr. Okafor, welcome. We are so pleased, she stopped. Her eyes went from Uncle Emeka to me, then back to him. I'm sorry, did you say? Ms. Okafor. Yes, Uncle Emeka said pleasantly. Chisholm Okafor. My niece. But I assume you already knew that, given that she works for you. The color drained from Mrs. Adebola's face. Shall we sit? Uncle Emeka gestured to the table. We have a lot to discuss about the Connect Niger project. Or should I say, the NaijaConnect project. What happened next was 3 hours of the most satisfying devastation I've ever witnessed. Uncle Emeka's team had done their homework. They had my original files, properly timestamped. They had the WhatsApp messages where I discussed the idea with friends months before Mrs. Adebola's aversion. They had testimonies from the developer I'd worked with. They even had CCTV footage from the office showing me working late nights on the project before Mrs. Adebola ever mentioned it to the board. Mrs. Adebola tried to deny it. Then she tried to claim we'd developed it together. Then she tried to say I'd stolen it from her. But the evidence was overwhelming. The board members sat there, stone-faced, as it all unraveled. So let me understand, Uncle Emeka said quietly. You stole a project from your junior colleague, falsified documents, and then tried to pitch it to investors as your own work. This is a misunderstanding. It's fraud, Uncle Emeka said flatly. It's theft of intellectual property. And if you try to move forward with this project under your name, you'll be hearing from my lawyers. He stood up. Pinnacle Communications, I suggest you handle this internally before it becomes external. Chisholm, let's go. I stood up on shaky legs. As I passed Mrs. Adebola, she grabbed my arm. You planned this, she hissed. You conniving little. I planned this. I pulled my arm away. You stole 6 months of my work. You tried to destroy my career. All I did was tell my uncle what happened. You did this to yourself. Mrs. Adebola was fired within a week. The company released a vague statement about moving in a different direction, but the industry is small. People talked. Her social media went quiet. Those magazine features looked foolish now. The panels uninvited her. Pinnacle offered me her position, but I declined. Because Uncle Emeka had a better offer, co-founder and chief marketing officer of NaijaConnect, fully funded by Zenith Ventures. We launched 6 months ago. Last month, we hit 100,000 small business users. Next month, we're expanding to Ghana. And Mrs. Adebola. I heard she moved to Abuja, working at some small firm. I should feel bad about it. Maybe I should feel guilty. But when I remember that day in the conference room, when she presented my work as hers, when she looked me in the eye and called me confused. No. I don't feel guilty at all. The only thing I regret is not telling my family about my project sooner. Uncle Emeka always says, never underestimate your village people, sometimes they're the ones with the connections you need. He's not wrong. So if someone at work ever steals your idea, your project, your shine, document everything. Tell people you trust. And maybe, just maybe, check if you have an uncle who's secretly a tech investor. Because karma is real. But sometimes, karma needs a little family assistance.